Alright guys, we're getting started. So today, not a lot of new stuff today really. We are just going to be talking about using formulas. So let's start with this. We kind of talked about this on one of the problems yesterday. How do you find the perimeter of a rectangle? Quiet. Grant?
Add the sides all together.
Right. What do we usually call this long side?
Base
and
length.
So sometimes they call it base and height, but probably more often they call it length and width. So this is the length, this is the width. So how do I express that if I add them together? We did this on yesterday's. What is W plus W? What's L plus L?
L.
L.
2L.
I don't
Because it's
know.
2L.
Okay.
What he did.
What does 2L mean?
The length
L times 2.
2 times L.
2 times
So, if you add two numbers together, like 3 plus 3, that's the same thing as 2 times 3, right? 3 plus 3 is like 2 times 3. So that's why L plus L is like 2 times L. 2 L's. Whatever L is, if it was 3, it would be 2 times 3. If it was 4, it would be 2 times 4. Okay. But we also have the W, so what else do I need to put?
Plus 2 W's.
Plus 2W.
Yeah.
So if we add all that together, that should give us the perimeter. So this is the formula for your perimeter. Formulas are, if you know you're going to have to figure out the same problem over and over, you just write a formula, then you plug in the numbers, and then it spits out the answer. So this is kind of how they program computers. They write a formula, and then they just tell, this is how your grades work, basically. I just put in, I don't really figure out your grade, I just put the numbers in, and then the grade book does it the computer does it automatically. It decides, this is your points, this is your average, it does it all. As an average formula, basically, that we use. Okay, anyways, so if they give us like, length is 5 and width is 4, then it would just be 2 times 5 plus 2 times 4, 18, that's it. Okay, let's talk about some other formulas here. I can't remember if I mentioned this, so I better mention it while I'm thinking about it. If we did like A is -2, B is 4, C is -3, and it was like A squared B minus C. You guys might get this right in your head, and you might get it wrong in the calculator, possibly. Let's say I plug this in my calculator. What does this mean right here when they just are right next to each other? Multiply.
The answer's 11.
So we're subtracting -3, like that, right? Okay, so we kind of did some of this in chapter 1 a little bit, but there weren't the letters, so there's kind of a trick here. If I plug this in my calculator, I would get it wrong. It's the wrong answer. Does anybody know why?
Because you didn't put parentheses around the -3.
No.
Or no, the -2 to the.
Yeah. So when it says square A, it means square all of A. So we should be doing all of -2 times all of -2. But the way I wrote it, it's just going to square the 2, and then it's going to add the negative on at the end. So your calculator will turn this into a -4, but it should be a +4. So you could either put parentheses around it like that, or you can just say, well, that's going to be a 4 and just use a 4 instead. Make a +4. What if this had been a 3 instead of a 2 right here? Does that make a difference?
No.
It comes out negative no matter what, because 3 negatives multiply to be a negative. So in that case, it wouldn't matter. You could still put parentheses, wouldn't hurt. But if it was like an even number, you have to have parentheses to get it right. Or just say, I know this is going to be positive, so I'm just going to make it positive right here. Doesn't mean the whole answer is positive, just this part. Anyway, So this would be 4 right there times 4, 16 plus 3. So that would have been 19. Okay. So if you do part of it in your head, it's, you know, save you some time. Just don't make a mistake, I guess. All right. We're almost ready. Turn to page 53 if you haven't yet. We got to talk about some of the tricky things. Okay, number 5 has a trick on it. You guys see where it says on number 5 Z over H? So, but if you look in the directions, it says Z is 4/5. So how do you do 4/5 over -1? You can do division. 4/5 divided by -1. Some fractions would probably let you do a fraction of a fraction, maybe not. But just do 4/5 divided by -1. What happens when you divide by 1?
Same number.
Stays the same. What happens when you divide by -1?
Same number.
Same number but negative. So really divided by -1 just switches the sign on it. But, okay. Number 11. Are you guys with me? 11. It says using the formula P equals 0.433H. Determine how much additional pressure you will feel from the water when you dive to a depth of 32 feet. What do you think P equals? What do you think P stands for? Pressure. That's what we're trying to figure out. What do you think H stands for?
H2O. Height.
Height. Height. H stands for height, but in this case they called it the depth. So when they say the depth is 32, they're just telling you plug 32 in for H, and that'll give you the P, the pressure. So don't make it harder than it is. They're just telling you what numbers to put in, and they're giving you the formula. Okay, number 12. It says convert 8 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. How do we turn Celsius into Fahrenheit? You don't have to have this memorized, by the way. It's on the previous page. The calculator doesn't know it either. Fahrenheit equals, I'm copying this out of the book. I don't have it memorized either. Plus 32. So in 7th grade, we talked about Fahrenheit and Celsius on like one of our assignments. Do you remember what like 20 degrees Celsius is like?
That's like 0 degrees.
No.
No, that's the.
Okay, so what you do, if you want to figure out what 20 degrees Celsius is in Fahrenheit, you put 20 in for the Celsius. So how's that going to work? 9/5 times 20. You don't have to do this by hand, but since I don't have a calculator, it'll save you some time if I do. It would be 36 plus 32, 68. So that's probably pretty close, it's probably like 72 in here. So 20 degrees Celsius is about room temperature. 40 degrees Celsius is like outside temperature right now. Hot, very hot. Anyways, that's how you just use that formula, plug it in. There's a Fahrenheit to Celsius formula also, but we don't need that one. Okay, number 13 is talking about a rectangular garden and how much fence he needs. So what formula would we use for that? How much fence goes around the rectangular garden? Rectangular garden. Right here. Rectangle. Perimeter of a rectangle. 2 lengths and 2 widths. 14 is a picture that you need to find the perimeter for. So you can assume it's a rectangle like almost every picture you've ever seen. So that's another rectangular perimeter. 15 is the circumference of a table, circular table. How do we find circumference? Probably forgot this, I'm sure. Something with pi. Yeah, okay, pi r squared is actually the area of a circle.
What about pi r two?
2r pi
2r pi.
is the circumference, or 2 times the radius is the same thing as diameter times pi. So use one of those two. I think they give you the diameter, don't they,
Hopefully.
on 15?
So just diameter times pi.
Diameter times pi, they give you the diameter. They tell you to use 3.14 for pi. And that's it. There are some hard ones, 21, 22. If you want some help, you can ask though. All right. Good luck. Godspeed.